Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Do not judge me by my successes, judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. It always seems impossible until it's done. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. A good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. After climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Our human compassion binds us the one to the other, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them, the chains on all of my people were the chains on me. I dream of an Africa which is in peace with itself.
Real leaders must be ready to sacrifice all for the freedom of their people. I am fundamentally an optimist. Whether that comes from nature or nurture, I cannot say. Part of being optimistic is keeping one's head pointed toward the sun, one's feet moving forward.
We can change the world and make it a better place. It is in your hands to make a difference. I was not a messiah, but an ordinary man who had become a leader because of extraordinary circumstances. In my country, we go to prison first and then become president. Respect for the rights of others means peace. To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. There is no passion to be found playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. Difficulties break some men but make others. A good leader can engage in a debate frankly and thoroughly, knowing that at the end he and the other side must be closer, and thus emerge stronger. I am not a saint, unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying. Let there be justice for all. Let there be peace for all. Let there be work, bread, water, and salt for all. I stand here before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. I detest racialism because I regard it as a barbaric thing, whether it comes from a black man or a white man. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. Courageous people do not fear forgiving, for the sake of peace. It is said that no one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jails. We must use time wisely and forever realize that the time is always ripe to do right. It is never my custom to use words lightly. If 27 years in prison have done anything to us, it was to use the silence of solitude to make us understand how precious words are and how real speech is in its impact on the way people live and die. We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians.
The greatest gift of life is friendship, and I have received it.
I stand for simple justice, equal opportunity and human rights, the indispensable elements in a democratic society. If you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your enemy. Then he becomes your partner. It is not where you start but how high you aim that matters for success. Freedom would be meaningless without security in the home and in the streets.
I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb.
We can't afford to be killing one another. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. I am fundamentally an optimist. Whether that comes from nature or nurture, I cannot say. Part of being optimistic is keeping one's head pointed toward the sun, one's feet moving forward. I dream of an Africa which is in peace with itself.
Do not oppress the poor and the needy.
After climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. Let us live and strive for freedom, in South Africa, our land. We must strive to be moved by a generosity of spirit that will enable us to outgrow the hatred and conflicts of the past. I stand before you as a man who has seen war and knows the horror it brings. When people are determined, they can overcome anything. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. There is no easy walk to freedom anywhere, and many of us will have to pass through the valley of the shadow of death again and again before we reach the mountaintop of our desires.
We understand it still that there is no easy road to freedom.
The time for the healing of the wounds has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come.
We have waited too long for our freedom. We can no longer wait. We have triumphed in the effort to implant hope in the breasts of the millions of our people. We enter into a covenant that we shall build the society in which all South Africans, both black and white, will be able to walk tall, without any fear in their hearts, assured of their inalienable right to human dignity, a rainbow nation at peace with itself and the world.
There is nothing like returning to a place that remains unchanged to find the ways in which you yourself have altered. Our human compassion binds us the one to the other, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future. As I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. A winner is a dreamer who never gives up.
There is nothing I fear more than waking up without a program that will help me bring a little happiness to those with no resources, those who are poor, illiterate, and ridden with terminal disease.
I detest racialism, because I regard it as a barbaric thing, whether it comes from a black man or a white man. We have always cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. The power of imagination created the illusion that my vision went much farther than the naked eye could actually see. Overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life. A good head and good heart are always a formidable combination. It is not the kings and generals that make history but the masses of the people, the workers, the peasants. When a man is denied the right to live the life he believes in, he has no choice but to become an outlaw. People respond in accordance to how you relate to them. If you approach them on the basis of violence, that's how they'll react. But if you say, we want peace, we want stability, we can then do a lot of things that will contribute towards the progress of our society.
If you take a step and then another, it is still the same road.
I was made, by the law, a criminal, not because of what I had done, but because of what I stood for, because of what I thought, because of my conscience. If you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your enemy. Then he becomes your partner. We understand it still that there is no easy road to freedom.